what is going to stop you from generating wealth is your own mind. It's funny because if I want to have a clip or something that I do go, not necessarily viral, but do very well, all I need to do is yell at people and be a drill sergeant. That's what people want me to be. And the reason is they want me to intoxicate them with certainty. They want me to tell them precisely what to do, how to behave, to stop doing that, to do this. The bad news is the only thing that I have that level of aggression and certainty around is that people shouldn't be so certain. Like that, I will stand up and scream and be like, hey, listen, if you trust yourself, if you believe your emotions, if you think that you've got the right answer and it's never going to be questioned, you're going to get hit by a freight train 100%. And you have got to cultivate like a deep sense of distrust in your emotions.
Particularly, and if someone says, here's the secret to getting rich, here's the path to getting rich, just follow these 3 steps. That's what people want to hear. That sense of certainty. Just tell me how to do it. Tell me the formula. The truth is there's no formula. There are mindset ideas, there's psychological ideas, but everyone wants the drill sergeant that's just going to tell them exactly what to do and how to do it, because that seems like the easier path. When a lot of, like, one of the best-selling books of all time in finance is Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich.
Oh my God, that book changed my life.
It's a great book, and one of the keys of it is like you have to envision and imagine the success that you're going to have in order to get there. It's a very vague and nebulous point, but I think that's the point. Is like, if the secret to wealth is like this very vague and nebulous thing. It's not do this, do that, and step 3 you're rich. It just doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Here's what I took away from Think and Grow Rich, and that book, I remember where I was.
It was written in like the 1920s.
Yeah,
it's a very old book. Yeah.
He was, I assume, he was interviewing effectively the robber barons of the day, like going around, like who are the people that have just amassed all this wealth. And I was on a plane. I was broke at the time, and flying to see my wife, who is now my wife, then my girlfriend, to England, and all the stops you can imagine to get the cheapest ticket possible. And he says in the book, like, hey, I've given you the secret on every page of this book, but it's still not sinking into you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I was like, what has he said on every page of the book? And then I was like, oh, if I believe I can, I can.
You can do it, right.
But if I believe I can't, then I won't.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that thing in that book changed my life. In fact, before we started rolling, I said to you, I have this saying I call the only belief that matters, which is that if you put time and energy into getting better at something, you will actually get better at that thing. Yeah. It wasn't directly from him, but it was a combination of him and Carol Dweck, who wrote the book Mindset, that made me realize, oh my God, look, as somebody who's built businesses, I will just tell you, you cannot wish your way to success.
Right.
But if you don't believe it's possible, then you won't do the things you need to do to get good at the skills that you need to get good at in order to generate wealth or whatever it is you're
I think whether it's an entrepreneur or an investor or a politician or an athlete, a common denominator that they have is just like this incredible belief in their own skills, that they can do it no matter how hard it's going to get, that they can do it themselves, that they can eventually get there. This like ridiculous confidence in their own ability to get shit done is a common denominator. You're going to see a lot of those people. But back to like Napoleon Hill, that's the idea of like, if you believe in it, you can do it. And if you don't believe in yourself, you're not going to get that. That's very different than the drill sergeant saying, do X, Y, and Z, and then step 3 is wealth. Because I think what Napoleon Hill told you was the truth. Of like let's leave aside the actual like technical idea of like believe in yourself and you can get it done. There is no formula for getting it done. Believe in yourself is a vague, nebulous concept, but everyone out there wants the hack. Everyone else wants the shortcut of follow these 3 steps, follow this simple trading algorithm, and you'll get rich tomorrow.
But we can give them that. This is what drives me crazy. You've already given it to them. Spend less than you make, invest what you save, and give it a long time. So it becomes what you said earlier about, but your mind is going to fuck with you.
Yes.
You won't like that it's not complex. You're going to be drawn to these very like difficult things. And there's, do you have anything to say to that? Because I'm going to move us on to like this other thing that you said in your book that I was like, I totally disagree with this.
Oh, good. This is what I like talking about the most. The one thing I'd say is the idea of spend less than you make and save the difference is much easier said than done. So as a formula that you can put into practice,
is it not going to work 100% of the time over the last 100 years anyway? No one can predict the future, but over the last 120 years, that would work every time.
Yeah.
It's just that most people won't do it.
because it's harder than it is to say.
Okay, so then before we move to the next thing, which I will take a note to make sure I don't forget, but why? Why is it harder?
I
So
think it's
cultural, Instagram's going to push you to spend more money. Got it.
Yep.
Envy is going to push you to spend more money and to pursue more money and to constantly move the goalposts. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, or is it literally master those two things and you're golden?
The last point I'd bring up, and I don't know if I agree with this 100%, but I thought it was profound when he said it. There's a Charlie Munger quote where he says, when teaching financial skills to young people, they either get it instantly or never at all. And I think what he's saying is like on the nature nurture spectrum, some people are just not wired to get it. And some people are very naturally wired to get it instantly. I've often thought, before I heard Munger say that, I've often thought 10% of people don't need any help with their money. They naturally understand it. It just makes sense to them. Compound interest makes sense. It's intuition. Another 10% cannot be helped. They're compulsive gamblers. No matter what you tell them, they're always just going to be making terrible financial decisions. I think that's roughly right. So there's always going to be a subset of the population for whom no matter what you tell them or what information you give them, it's never going to click.
Okay, so the gambling thing, that wipes out 10%, but that would mean 80% you have a shot, and I don't buy it. I think that there is given that the answer is so simple. In fact, let me make this about the body for a second. I can tell you exactly how to get six-pack abs. It won't work some of the time. It will work all of the time to a person. I don't care what disease you have, literally nothing. It will work every time. If you let me control what that person eats, I will get them to, now they might have weak ass six-pack abs because they're not doing sit-ups, but you're going to get them. This is a question of how much body fat are you storing? And if I remove enough calories from your diet, people are going to hate this, but this is fucking true. If I remove enough calories from your diet, you are going to lose fat. That is just a fact of nature. There is no way around it. There's nothing you can do to stall it out. If you let me completely control your calories, I will control your body fat. It will be different for different people, but it will work 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And so the question becomes then, why is everybody fat?
Yeah.
And they are fat because they don't care enough. They have not built the discipline. And I hate that this one is true. They may not meet minimum requirements intellectually. There is a sad reality to be faced, that there is a point at which you drop below the requisite IQ and you're never going to make it.
Yep.
They are awash in bad ideas, which is where I focus. I am entirely obsessed with, I think the vast majority of people can make the change, but they are going to have to get rid of their bad ideas and supplant them with effective ideas. I'm not even going to pass moral judgment on. I'm not even going to call them good ideas. I'm just going to say there are ideas that work and there are ideas that don't work. And how do you know whether you're pursuing an idea that works or not? You're getting the result that you want or you're not getting the result that you want. Now, we can go into a whole thing about if you don't know what your goal is, of course you're going to fail, which you mentioned earlier. And a huge swath of humanity has no idea what their goal is. And so they are not going to be able to get to it just because they've never taken the time to articulate it. But okay, all of this was a response to you saying that there's this huge percentage in the middle, 80%, that doesn't fall into either of those two categories.
Wants and needs good advice.
Yeah. So I will say, I still think the vast majority of them are going to fail.
And I think the vast majority of them that want and need good advice are probably not getting good advice. The huge majority of the financial services industry, by the way, are by and large good, honest, well-meaning people. The incentives of the system are to push people away from the best financial behavior. Because if you are a stockbroker, if you are a fund manager, you're not going to make a career. You're not going to make your money telling people to buy index funds and go to the beach. You want them trading. You want them churning in and out. That's how you, as a broker, as a fund manager, are going to make your money.
Okay.
And then so much of the industry is pushing people towards the worst thing that they need to do because the incentives to do it are huge. And in finance, if you have a business model where you're taking 1% as your fee, 1% on trillions of dollars across the industry is a shitload of money. So the incentive to push people towards doing things that they shouldn't be doing is off the charts. And that's a huge part of this too. I mean, it might be similar in health where it's like the incentive of the food companies is to make food that is good, tastes good, and is addictive. It's not to give you healthy food. They couldn't care less. And I think by and large, they're good, honest, well-meaning people. But the incentives are to push you away from what you should be doing.
I'm in a weird mood today. So I'm going to say, okay, look, as somebody who made my wealth in food, trust me, there are amazing people out there. And I have a lot of respect for myself because I cost myself hundreds of millions of dollars. doing the right thing that I knew was like, oh, this isn't going to be as popular, but it's going to have the right metabolic effect. But I will say there are a lot of people that are probably dirtbags. I'm not saying I met them. I'm just saying when you look at, oh God, in fact, this is from your book.
Dirtbag.
No. You're going to remember this in a second. I think this is really smart. I summarized it as, oh God, circumstances make the monster.
Yeah.
But it's actually from the Russian poet.
The Russian poet.
That you quoted. God, I'm forgetting his name.
He has a crazy name.
Yes.
But basically what he says is you can turn anyone into a monster in 2 weeks.
Correct.
And he was talking about it in terms of people who went to the gulag and people who are good, honest, noble, smart, wise, caring, calm, peaceful people. 2 weeks in the gulag and they're monsters. 2 weeks of starvation, isolation, torture, whatever it would be, and you're a monster.
That'll do it.
And you and I would do that too.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody would.
I imagine
the most
myself
well-meaning
as the person who
person
becomes bad. There's no question.
But and 2 weeks of starvation or torture or whatever it might be, isolation, at what point are you willing to, start attacking people for your basic needs kind of thing? That was his point he made. And because of that, we underestimate what society is capable of doing in a bad way, because everyone is calm and peaceful and by and large well-meaning right now. It takes 2 weeks to turn that around.
Yep. Yeah, that is scary and I think very true. So going back to the food industry, so given the perverted incentives, I have a feeling, even though they may be like minus the bad incentives, amazing people, the incentives get hard to overcome.
Yeah.
And this is why I think so many people succumb. So, dear viewers, thank you for showing up, because I care obsessively about one thing. Because I acknowledge the role of luck in my life, I am obsessed with trying to give people the ideas that I feel separate me from people that have not had my kind of success. I got the ideas at the right time. I had the right constitution to get very frustrated with the way that normal business was being done. And all of my success was sort of a accidentally timed rebellion against that ended up being just absolutely the right time for pure luck. Oh. So I am hell-bent to give people the ideas that are going to help them. So you are your own worst enemy. You are going to create all the problems in your life. The reason that you know the right thing to do in both your body and in money, because we've told you them in this episode. So if you were hearing my voice now, unless you're skipping around randomly, you know what to do. Now, maybe you don't believe me. I guess we'll set that aside for a second. But assuming that people do embrace those ideas, I still think they're going to fail. And so I want to dismantle what happens psychologically that leaves them to fail. Now, to do that though, I need to ask you first, do you think they can be changed? Or do you simply speak to the 10% that fall into they'll get it and do something?
I think I'm speaking to the 50 to 80% who want and need good advice. Do I think everyone can change? No. Because I feel like like my saying of spend less than you make, invest, be patient, I almost, to rag on my own idea, I almost view that as saying, if you get people to stop fighting, there'll be no more wars. You're like, yeah, no kidding, but it's not going to happen. And it's like, when you make it that simple, it highlights all that you need to do, but let's not pretend that that's going to be easy. And let's not pretend that everybody can do it. I think that's where I fall down. And to the point of same as ever, it's always been like that. Bad financial behavior has always existed. And I think it will always exist because of the natural human emotions of envy and wanting to one up your neighbor and rising expectations. I think there's such an innate part of human behavior. And because those exist, it's never going to get to a point in society where everybody is making good financial decisions.
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.